Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we're taking a look at the best EDC pocket knives that you can get for under $100 that feature S30V or S35VN steel, two alloys that ushered in the modern super steel era. Let's check them out. So made by a company called Crucible, S30V is one of, if not the first alloy specifically developed for use in knives, and it's made using a method called powder metallurgy. Essentially, this builds up the steel from a powder form that's then sintered together, rather than from a melted together ingot like a conventional steel. This allows for a more uniform distribution of elements on the molecular level, netting gains in edge retention and toughness over conventionally prepared steel. Now, some early treatments of S30V gained a bit of a reputation, perhaps unfairly, for being prone to chipping at the edge. Suffice it to say that reputable manufacturers have nailed down the heat treatment these days, and it shouldn't be an issue. But if you are worried about it, you'll want to go with an S35VN folder. Considered a bit of an upgrade over S30V, edge retention ought to be very nearly as good as S30V, with a noted increase in toughness, especially at the edge. Now, even though a lot of what I just said only scratches the surface of what makes these steels what they are, I do apologize for a bit of the mumbo jumbo here at the front. But in layman's terms, in either case, both of these steels represent very high performance with a long-lasting edge, and you don't have to shatter your bank account these days to afford a knife using these great materials. Now, this first knife is truly a bargain. We've got a full-sized folder made in America with an S30V blade for about $50. This is the Bear Ops Rancor 2 Flipper. Of course, you are going to see a few compromises on this knife to get to that price point. For instance, the handles are stainless steel and they're a bit on the heavier side, and the design doesn't exactly look premium, but it is very nicely thought out. You can open the blade with the flipper or the thumb studs, and the action is quite good for this price range, because it's aided by ball bearings in the pivot to keep things nice and smooth. The handle is a pretty generous size, not overly large, and it's nice and comfortable with a liner lock inside. And the reversible tip-up pocket clip nests in a little pocket on the end of the handle. You can see the back spacer sticking out here at the back to form the lanyard hole, and it's made from black G10, which is a nice little touch. The Bear Ops Rancor 2 is a solid, affordable flipper with world-class steel at one steal of a price. Pardon the pun. Now, before we get into some more full-size folders, I've got a pair of smaller non-locking blades to show you first. We've got the SPYDERCO Dog Tag, designed by Serge Panchenko, and the Cold Steel Lucky One slip joint. These are great low-profile, socially acceptable options that don't skimp on performance. The Dog Tag is essentially a friction folder. We've got a single-piece G10 handle on one side with a chisel ground S30V sheep's foot blade. This is a great box cutter or small utility knife priced at just over $60. The handle has a detent bar that provides some retention when the blade is opened, and when it's closed, it provides some retention there as well to keep it from slipping open. And thanks to that chisel grind and what is essentially an integral G10 backspacer, the edge is neatly tucked away against the handle for safety. It's got a pretty distinct look too, whether you got it open or closed, and even on the back, the G10 is made to look sort of like carbon fiber. This knife is easy to carry in the pocket, especially in that fifth jeans pocket, or as a true dog tag around the neck, thanks to that small hole here, so you can wear it around your neck with a ball chain or the cordage of your choice. Now, the Cold Steel Lucky One is the modern take on your grandpa's knife, but it's even fit for the modern gentleman now with a narrow S35VN blade and carbon fiber handles. Comes in at about $65 for the single blade model here, but you can also get a twin blade model with this plain edge as well as a second serrated edge blade, and that comes in at about $78. As you can see, we've got a trio of broad, shallow finger grooves here, and the knife fits very nicely in a 3-finger grip, and it even has a little bit of contouring to the scales to keep them comfortable. And on top of that, it's crazy lightweight. This knife is only 0.7 ounces. You won't even know it's there until you need it, and with the thin blade stock, it should cut like a laser, and of course, it comes razor sharp. Cold Steel's knives offer some of the best factory sharpening out there. Now, even the action on this knife is superb. It's got nice walk and talk that makes using it a pleasure. It's got a definitive half stop for safety. Opens and closes with a really nice snap, and the knife even has a pocket clip to keep it from floating around in your pockets. It's handy, especially at the end of the day, because this knife is so light, it'd be easy to forget to take it out of the pockets before you stick your pants in the laundry. Now, since we're talking about Cold Steel, I should mention that they offer a bunch of models with S35VN, and honestly, they all could have earned a spot on this list. We've got the American Lawman, the Broken Skull series, and the Tie Light are all examples, but narrowing it down to just one, we had to give it to the Code 4 series. These knives feature narrow aluminum handles and your choice of blade shapes. You've got tanto, spear point, or the clip point you see here, each about 3.5 inches long and priced at about $90. This is a very nice feeling knife. It feels rugged and premium at the same time, and thanks to that slim construction, it's even going to carry very easily, especially given the amount of blade you actually get. That S35VN blade is hollow ground, again with a great edge. It's got a nice satin finish with horizontal grinds on the flats of the blade. The handle has a bit of a drop that brings the blade point slightly down, and housed midway along the back is the release for their triad lock. This is operated just like a traditional lockback, but thanks to the addition of a stop pin as well as a few other internal improvements, it's going to last even longer as the mechanism wears in, and it makes for an incredibly strong system. Thanks to that lock, which works the same from either side of the body, the dual thumb studs, and the pocket clip for each side of the knife, this is a great recommendation for ambidextrous use as well. This knife definitely has a lot of attitude, and it's sort of menacing, even though, as I said, it does feel a little bit premium at the same time. But what if you want something more of a gentleman's knife? In that case, you might want to take a look at the KIZER SLIVER, a unique looking executive knife with a hollow ground S35VN blade coming in at $80 at this point in time. What's nice about this long, narrow blade shape like this is it's going to be able to get into and around places where the broader blade of that cold steel just won't fit. And it has a nice stone-washed finish, which is going to wear nicely over time, and it pairs well with the anodized and milled aluminum handles, which are available in a few different colors. Now this knife is more right-hand biased than previous designs because we've got a single position pocket clip, as well as an inset liner lock, which is executed very nicely, and it keeps the look nice and clean from the top down. Speaking of clean, this is going to be an easy one to keep that way. Thanks to the barrel spacer construction holding the scales together, it's going to be easy to blow or rinse out if lint or other detritus gets caught up in there. So everything so far has been an imported knife, but the American-made stuff can get in on the action too. And the first is an updated pair of classics, the Buck 110 Folding Hunter and 112 Ranger in their Slim Pro iterations. Both are available with S30V steel and your choice of G10 or micarta handles. Now, in addition to the steel upgrade, the clip point shape has been modified slightly from the original knives. Now it has more of a straight clip rather than the more scooped out look of before. But the biggest news is the addition of dual thumb studs for ambidextrous opening and a deep carry pocket clip which is reversible. Combined with the slimmer handles, these are perfect for modern EDC, especially when you consider they're priced from $80 to $90 right now and still made in the USA. Whether you take the 112 Slim Ranger Pro with its 3-inch blade, which is a great size most anywhere, especially more urban areas where you don't need too much extra length, or the 110 with its 3 3/4 inches of steel for the bigger jobs out there, both are great choices. That's not the only S30V buck that's worth a look. Their American-made Vantage Pro series of flippers are solid performers as well, and they range from the $70 to $85 range depending on which size blade you choose. I've got the large one here with about a 3 1/4 inch blade, but you've also got a small one that's a little bit over 2.5 inches long. Both of them have a broad drop point shape, hollow ground with a flipper tab. Now this is not the crispest flipper out there. We don't have ball bearings in the pivot, for example, but they tend to be tuned pretty well these days and flip quite easily. Whether you've got it open or closed, this knife has a graceful shape to the handles, and they're made with molded nylon with a contoured G10 inlay on both sides, which is very comfortable to grip. This knife also has what's probably my favorite deep carry clip in the business. It mounts from the tail of the handle, so it truly nestles deep in your pocket, and it's reversible for carry on either side. Now I don't have one in front of me, but another S30V buck worth checking out is the Sprint Pro with burlap micarta handles. This flipper does come with ball bearings, is still US made, and comes in right under $100 right now. Now for that same price, you could also get one of our favorite Gerber knives of recent years, the also American-made FASTBALL flipper. Although the shape of this knife isn't revolutionary, it is an excellent EDC design that's executed extremely well. You get a stone-washed S30V blade that pairs with gray or green aluminum handles, although a black stone-washed blade on black handles is also available for just a few dollars more, just a little bit above that $100 mark. So what's really great about this knife? So for one thing, it's a nicely sized, classy everyday carry. It's got a blade length of 3 inches and a nice Wharncliffe shape with an acute tip. It makes it an aggressive cutter for light to medium duty tasks day to day. Secondly, the action. This is a ball bearing equipped flipper, and they took a lot of care to ensure that the action is tuned perfectly for snappy and satisfying action. It feels really good, the steel is also really good, and this is a really great option for urban everyday carry, especially for those of you folks in the office. It looks a little bit fancier. One might be able to consider this a gentleman's knife, but it's not so fancy that you're going to be afraid to use it. Next up is an impressive knife in this segment that packs a lot of features into the price range that we're looking at, the SOG TERMINUS XR with S35VN blade. Priced at about $85, this is a great catch-all recommendation for an EDC pocket knife. The first reason, that 3-inch blade, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, is an important length if you live in certain knife-restrictive locales, and the G10 handles with carbon fiber overlays are not overtly tactical looking, but they still provide you with a good amount of grip for your day-to-day needs. Second reason, this is an ambidextrous knife again, thanks to the reversible deep carry pocket clip, as well as SOG's XR lock, which is their entry into the crossbar lock genre. This goes through both sides of the handle so you can actuate it with either hand very easily, and it keeps your fingers out of the path of the blade too, which is always nice. And the third reason, this knife has 3 different opening methods for those of you out there who appreciate a good fidget. You've got dual thumb studs for opening from either side, as well as the flipper, which is tuned quite nicely, as well as the wrist flick in conjunction with the use of the XR lock. The fact that they're able to put all of this together in a knife that's about $85 that's built as well as this knife is very impressive to me. All right, I think all of these have been very good knives, but nothing so far has been a titanium frame lock flipper, which is about the most widespread form factor in the world of premium knives today. Because normally that combination of titanium and S35VN gets to be above that $100 price point that we're looking at. But we do have one knife that just barely squeaks in, the Factor Equipment Bit Flipper. Now, admittedly, this is a bit of a novelty knife with a 1.85-inch blade of S35VN, but it's built just like more expensive and larger knives. We've got a really nice two-tone anodization on the handles, this sort of blue and gold look, as well as a milled titanium pocket clip, not a simple folded over clip. The frame lock keeps the small blade nice and secure, and it's even got a lock bar insert. That ensures the face of the lock bar is going to wear very nicely over time. You're going to have a nice consistent lockup, and it even has a small over travel arrestor to keep you from pushing the lock bar out too far, which, especially on a smaller knife like this, is definitely appreciated because it would be easy to flex that too far if you're getting a little out of control. Then, thanks to a set of ceramic ball bearings in the pivot, this knife even flips pretty well. The bit flipper is definitely something that puts a smile on your face, and it's still a capable little knife for when you need to cut something. Now for a bonus pick, I've got one more thing for those of you out there who are not watching this video too far in the future. A knife that used to be nearly $200, but now comes in just under $100 since we scored a great closeout deal and we're passing on the savings. This is the BOKER Plus F3 designed by Jesper Vaknäs. This is an incredibly robust folder. This design features a 5mm thick S35VN blade, that's about 0.2 inches or thereabouts, and it's got a heavy stone-washed finish and a shallow hollow grind. This is backed up by a handle with a G10 front scale and a stone-washed titanium frame lock on the backside. This is a knife that competes very well against other noted hard-use folders such as the DPX Hest, and it's a heck of a lot of knife for the price, but once they're gone, they're not going to be back, so if you want one, you don't want to wait. So that's it for our list of the best S30V and S35VN folders that you can get for under $100. What were your guys' favorites? Is there something you like better? Make sure to let us know in the comments. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we'll make sure to leave links in the description that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And make sure you're signed up for our Knife Rewards program while you're there, because the only thing better than a new knife is free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time. That got out of hand.
One of those will work.
One steal of a price. Pardon the pun.
No.
They're being shushed. The handle is a pretty generous size. Oh my gosh, 3 chats all at once.